How many times you had a great conversation with one of your friends, with one of your relatives, maybe a brother or sister or a family member, and you realize how smart they are, how impressive they think, and how inspiring their ideas are. And then you decide, let's ruin this relationship and become business partners. Partnership in business is one of the things that can get you to be friends if you're not, or can break the relationships that you have already with friends and family. You have to be very careful. We invite one of the amazing, smart lawyers that we know. Our guest for today, again, we invite Ammar El Banna, the managing partner of Incept Legal. Thank you very much, Ammar, for coming today.
Thanks for having me. What a great intro.
Yeah, it's all natural. You know me. I became huge in the media, and everybody is saying that I'm natural, and some of my friends are even telling me to stop lawyering.
Does it pay well?
It doesn't pay anything. Actually, that's very funny. I tried a few times to get some sponsors, especially for coffee and for cars and watches and so on, and no one is responding.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
You're building attraction. Congrats on the new studio.
Thank you very much. Yes, I cannot say where did I buy them from, but it's IKEA and Amazon.
Well, that's an investment.
Good choices. Yes, yes. Well, the good thing is that I'm pretty sure I'll get somewhere at the end. But what's really happening is that I'm enjoying doing this very much, and really I don't care if it's paying or not. As long as I'm still lawyering, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah. I like the diversity of it, the different topics, different people. I think you're very smart in picking up the right topics and different topics, and there's always something for someone. And I think if you keep doing that, you get the traction.
Thank you very much.
That you need. But such a great intro, I gotta tell you. I loved how you articulated it, and I think everyone watching us will be, yeah, that's interesting.
They relate.
Yeah. The question here, my friend, are we going to be lawyers about it, or are we going to be real about this discussion? What do you think? What do you prefer?
Let's do this. Let's do both. Let's have the lawyer approach and talk about what people should take care of, what people should think of, and how they should address the partnership when it comes. But then we talk about it as people as well, because I got into many partnerships and I broke a few of them. I broke a few relations as well, that, because honestly, it shows a lot that you don't see.
It seems that you know more than I do about it. I should be interviewing you. It's very challenging. It must be very challenging for you, because you're obviously a successful lawyer and you interview a lot of people. And sometimes I'm sure you interview someone on a topic that you know sometimes more than your guest. So it's challenging that you're a good listener. So it's challenging to ask and listen while you actually know, and just tame yourself from saying things that you might know more than your guest, actually, I would say.
Well, sometimes I honestly, I invite only people I think they are much smarter than me, most of the time. In your case, for example, you're much smarter than me. I said it in the last episode. I say it again.
I'll have my disagreement, but carry on.
But I'm pretty sure I learned from everybody, and at least I don't know. The discussion is always something that you learn something new from it, even if you know much more than the person who you're talking to. At a certain level, you find an angle that keep you thinking of the topic in a different way.
Nice.
And for this, I will ask you, what do you think of partnerships in general?
Oh, partnerships is such a beautiful word if you think about it. Seriously, it's like partnership. It's a beautiful poem. The concept of it is just represent people and life together. You can go to places and build things and have history and have memories and have meaningful life when you have partnerships. There's only little you can do on your own. I can't think of, at the moment, I can't think of anyone who just was able to build something amazing only on his own. You always have to have people that work with you, support you, and enjoy the journey with you. Seriously, I think it's more about that. Sometimes we think too highly of ourselves, but partnership for me represent the journey that you go, the places you go with your friends, and the time you spend with people around you. And if you can have something meaningful in this time, it's great.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people put a word before partnership to define it. So sometimes they say life partner or a business partner or I don't know, whatever other way that just to define what is what. Yeah,
you're right. You're right. The society tends to develop words dramatically.
No, let's go to the lawyering thing. So I'm talking about business partnerships. When we talk about that, I can give you an example. Two of my friends, a few weeks ago, one of them approached me and said, I'm getting into a new business partnership, and I would like that you advise me. And coincidentally, we realized that her business partner is also a friend of mine. So it was funny, it was nice, and then I told both of them that it's good. Let's get on a call, the three of us, and discuss your new business idea and this partnership. And both of them attended the call. We had an amazing time, 90 minutes talking. We discussed many things about the partnership that they have. I gave them an exercise. I told them, write down your ideas, exchange it, come up with a final one, come to me, I'll do your contract. Guess what happened?
They fell off.
Not even. They started the partnership without coming to me. They didn't write the agreement.
Wow.
Yet. I mean, I'm pretty sure they will come at certain point, but this is what happens when people like each other so much. And at the beginning, they trust each other so much, they don't think that the partnership agreement is important.
I think you said the word exercise. I think that was exciting.
I guess. But I don't know if they have done it or not, but it is, I'm pretty sure it's on the way. You have to come back to me if you're listening or if you're watching. It's just that I understand very well at the beginning of every idea, people are too excited. They don't think of every scenario that they might disagree later on. They think that the disagreement is so unlikely to happen. We're friends, we're family, we are so aligned. There is no competition. I don't think a conflict can happen. I think there'll be unlimited examples of what can they say to delay or not to do the partnership agreement in general.
Oh, I love the example you start with. Let's take that example and dive deep up it. What do you think happened in that partnership? What did you do? What, in hindsight, what do you think happened? Why did these two end up and they went together and have a partnership without the agreement? What do you think happened on a psychological side of things?
The euphoria, the excitement of love and peace and happiness, and
which are these things fall under
emotions.
Emotions.
Yes,
exactly. Emotions. It's unbelievably there. You see it in every transaction, in every court case, in every client you meet. I don't care how big you are, how international you are, even if a couple of friends or two titans in the market, there's always emotions involved. And you know what the word emotion came from? It's actually a Latin word, emotio. And if you break it down, it's fascinating. It's a reflection of what you actually did to these gentlemen. It's the word E, which is energy, and motions. So you have created an energy, my friend. Now what happened?
Yeah.
The exercise they've done, I got excited when you thought, that's exciting. What exercise? I want to see that exercise.
Yeah.
Share it with me. You created an energy inside of me, and you did the same to them as well. There was an energy. We're going to play. There's something we're going to build together. So you started an energy into between these two gentlemen. And then the motion came into place.
They're ladies, by the way.
Oh, sorry. What a male brain.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. So I think this is I think if I'm being honest, we can talk about we'll talk about the legality of it, the importance
Yeah.
of a contract. We'll deal with all of these things, but I'll be driven by you on that one. I'll try to tame my excitement and my emotions in this interview. But yeah, I think you give a real example of how emotions can drive the whole thing, and that's okay. By the way, sometimes we run away from these emotions because you have to be this businessman who thinks with his logic and be pragmatic and all of these things. But the idea is everyone is emotional. And are you in touch with these? And can you actually give them the time and the space? And then can you then go back to your brain and function and have a right balance and be in tune with what your brain tells you, what your emotions tell you? I promise if you don't, something gonna happen down the line. And I've seen partnerships who started very well, very logical, broke after 5, 10, 15 years because there were emotions involved that were never expressed. I've seen other cases that it was only emotions that were involved, excitement, happiness, euphoria you mentioned, but there wasn't really something to not to tame, but to align those emotions together. You can actually build something. So yeah, I think it's a good start to think about your emotions and what motive actually. Why are you going to this partnership?
Well, I totally agree with you, but let's put it this way. Is it possible to put the emotions aside and be very pragmatic about every partnership and go draft a contract and do the exercise in a pragmatic way so that we don't do mistakes? How can we control these emotions
I,
in the right way so that we don't do the mistake?
I asked AI before I come here today. ChatGPT, tell me. I said, I'm giving a podcast today. I'm talking about this topic. What ideas can you help me with? And it went straight and told me all the pragmatic things: due diligence, do this, do that, a contract, a framework agreement, align on the strategy, the market, splitting on the responsibilities, all the things that you see in books. And I said, come on, ChatGPT.
I know all of this. I don't
Can you,
need
can
you.
you, can you be more human? I said. And I challenged it, and
Yeah.
it went and actually dove deep to the core issues. So to answer your question, can we set aside the emotions or ignore the emotions or control the emotions? I don't think this is the right approach, and this is one of these topics that you have different opinions in different people. I'm a very emotional person, and I learned and I spent my 20s and early 30s suppressing those emotions. And I want to be this lawyer who always go to the brain and navigate and advise on these big cases and litigation and solve problems, right? I kind of be seen emotional. And actually, magic happened when I started to actually be in touch with my emotions and connect with people, connect with other side, and able to actually resolve disputes and understand that disputes actually arises from emotions that people have. So to answer your question, from my personal perspective, and like I said, you'd have different perspectives in this topic. I'm very comfortable saying I don't think this would be the right approach, at least for me. And even from what I've seen in my experience, I think you need to understand your emotions because emotions are driving you. Like I said, this energy, emotions, you move. And if you understand that, you'll be happy on your own skin and you'll be comfortable with, you'll be able to identify who you are, what other values you want to do from this partnership, what really drives you. And then once you reach to that stage, in my opinion, you'll be able to align with someone else who have the same values, have the same emotions, right? And if you can do that, and then we'll talk about the technicalities with different set of skills, different responsibilities, I think magic can happen. But if you completely ignore it and you only go to the logic, you can build something amazing. It can be very successful. Um, uh, you can make a lot of money. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. But in my opinion, if you want to build something that stays and leaves a legacy behind and really have an impact on the people, you need to have this emotional connection together with your brain when you go into partnership.
Let's say two partners, business partners, are emotionally connected and each of them connected to himself and they understand what they want from the other party, but they don't have the agreement in place. What do you think of this of this scenario, for example, because my experience, which happened a few times that I've seen, that when people are so much aligned with their let's put it this way, with what they expect from the other party. So everybody is, of course, the flexibility exists and so on, but they have certain expectations from the other party, and these expectations sometimes are even repeated in meetings when they talk that you're going to handle that part, I'm going to handle that part. But then the definition and what that part means, is it strategy or execution or management or the people don't really talk the same language. And sometimes I feel writing them down reduce that risk. And I don't know what's your take on that.
You don't need to go to law school and study law to understand that you need to have an agreement in writing
Yeah.
that regulates the relationship between 2 or 3 or 4 partners or any number of partners. Goes without saying. So it's obvious you need to entertain a discussion, a negotiation, and then you need to understand who's doing what is the scope of the partnership. Whatever you guys agree on, again, I'm talking to these ladies.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure you'll look back in time and say, thanks God we wrote this agreement, because actually it's there in writing, it's reference, something we can go back and have a look at, and maybe have a disagreement and I say, oh, actually we did agree on these things. So now it's 100% important to have an agreement. But you know what? It sounds very obvious. How many times you come across a situation, partnership with no agreement?
Oh, many.
And let me thinking, why don't we have agreements? It's something super basic. And I thought about it deeply. And I think we as humans, historically, we didn't need agreements because we lived in small societies and people knew each other, and handshake is an agreement. And normally you would have this in a majlis settings or a setting or a family settings or a friend settings. And then there'll be people witnessing the agreement, right? And therefore, naturally, I think we have a belief that we trust each other. And I think that's why we don't have an agreement. But I think in reality, even if you think you have met your dream partner, sit down and have an agreement.
Yes.
Put it down in writing.
Exactly. Yes. Have you seen many conflicts that goes to court and there's no agreement and everybody's relying on scattered pieces of WhatsApp messages and emails and I don't know, handwritten note that both of them initialed and stuff like this?
Oh yeah. You broke my heart. We were actually in the court recently, in a partnership dispute. Guess how much the value was? 120 million dirhams.
Wow.
And there was no one agreement. It was an uphill battle. And we managed to get something, but not all of it, because we were able to establish the partnership, right? Which was in itself just very difficult to do. We didn't have even any sort of witnesses on this handshake agreement, but the practicality of the agreement unfolded, but the terms of the agreement wasn't there. So I was able to establish the relationship. I was able to establish some of the entitlements, but the juicy part of the claim, unfortunately, wasn't there. And something I advised my client on from day one. This case is going to come down to evidence. Whilst our chances was very, very low, we were able to get something, but we didn't achieve what was right. And that was because there wasn't an agreement that actually specify exactly what are the terms of these partnership transactions that you guys agreed on. What happens in that scenario? Collection of money, costs, expenses. All these were scattered, not even by emails, believe it or not, were scattered in practice. Because what happened in practice is we tend to change, and that's okay. So one of the things we look at in the court is that the practicality of the execution of the agreement. And you think, okay, that will give you some consistency. But we're not robots. In 1 year, we'll behave in a certain way. We'll have our dealings in a certain way. a year later, we can change that behavior.
Yeah.
So even following the behavior to understand the relationship was very challenging. So yeah, it was sad to see, to be honest, because we did everything we could, and it came down to some technicalities that we were not able to establish.
There was no chance to mediate, for example, in the beginning, or
Oh, that's something I'd love to speak about with my good friend Christine.
yes.
She's we chatted about mediation, and her and I have some interesting ideas about it. As much as I loved for this to happen in that case,
Hmm.
it takes two.
Yes.
It takes two to tango. We tried, but the other side knew he had us, and he didn't want to have a discussion. We tried in various ways, but like I said, it takes two.
What do you think of the partnership, the business partnership that happens between life partners?
I think this is a more important topic to talk about.
No, because this is one of the things that I see a lot, especially um, in this region, and actually no, not just in this region. I see it everywhere. You see a husband and wife as business partners, or brothers who are business partners, or you see a father who decided to put all his uh, children, for example, as partners during his lifetime, just to avoid any discrepancy or any conflicts between them after death, or with the inheritance. And then when it happens, anyway, brothers and sisters and cousins and become partners. So this close family ties with business.
I'm sure you'd agree with me. We've seen family businesses that skyrocketed and other just broke, and there are the famous examples
Yes.
that you and I are fully aware of. I'll take it. I can't form hard views on it, to be honest with you. I can't. I mean, the easy answer for me to tell you, no, don't do it. Segregate the personal relationship from the business relationship. But I'm not a robot. I'm a human. And the reality of the matter is, again, according to my belief and my subjectivity of the world, because it's very subjective how we look at these things, is I think if you build the relationship with your sibling, with your parent, with your wife, with your kids, with your nephews and nieces, not because of the family bond, but because of the things we talked about and the things we are going to talk about, the shared values, the shared visions, the different set of skills that you guys can build together. I think this is going to be the most beautiful thing you can ever have, because the reality is the bond is there with siblings and family. So if you are able to look at it to a degree from a business point of view and acknowledge that the emotional connection that I have with my brother is a blood emotional connection, because he's my brother, she's my sister. I feel toward them certain way. That doesn't make them a good partnership, a good business partner.
Yeah.
So, and it's not easy. It's not easy to do this. You need to be very emotionally intelligent to be able to identify that the love and this connection that I have with my brother when I spend time with him, it only stays with the families because he's my brother. In other cases, but he cannot be my business partner.
Yeah.
In other cases, you can have a brother, same mom and dad, but you guys also share values and visions that can be implemented in the business. And each one of you have different set of skills that can complement each other, right? And if that's the case, it's going to be amazing. You still have to go through the legality of it, the regulations of it, put everything in writing. But I think if you're lucky enough to be blessed with this opportunity, I wouldn't be against it. But you'll hear most people tell you, don't go into partnership with your friends, don't go into partnership with your family members. But the reality is, if you can apply what we just discussed right now, I think it's going to be something enjoyable for you, for all of you.
The closer the family members or the closer the business partners are to each other, the need for a foundation or a business partnership agreement or for a very defined protocol is more. So if there's husband and wife doing business together, oh my God, they have to decide every single element of every possibility in the business partnership, and everything have to be defined. If the brother and sister, the same. If they're cousins, I think even more. Because as long as the family ties are close, we're human, as you said. So the friction and the conflict frequency will automatically be higher, even if the values are aligned, even if the mission and vision are the same. But we're human beings. We meet every day. It's impossible that I like you every day. There'll be days that I don't want to see you, or there'll be days that you do something that annoys me. And if everything is clear and written down, we really reduce the risk of having a conflict very much.
I couldn't agree more. We're talking about a scenario when there's an exit. I think it's inevitable. Maybe it's too emotional to say it's inevitable that each partnership that has an exit will be some emotion involved to it. I think to a degree it's inevitable if you're talking about an individual level. So whether family or not, in any exits, it's emotional because we shared visions, we shared dreams, we traveled together, we had hopes, we had back and forth, we had tough times, and we went through it together. We celebrated success. We felt sad when we didn't get the project we wanted to get, right? So after all of that, you have this emotional connection. And in any exit scenario, there's always a potential that you might lose the other side on a personal level. And I think this is the point you're referring to.
Yeah.
Are you willing to take a risk of losing a family member? Ideally, we don't want to lose our partners on a personal level. But the reality of things, that because we're human, we might change. And this might bring an end to the partnership and the personal relationship. So you're right. And I think the risk is always there. It's in my opinion inevitable, and having an agreement or not, in my opinion, won't solve that problem. Because even if you have an agreement that we agreed on 15 years ago, guess what? In those 15 years,
Changed a lot.
partners have changed a lot.
Yeah.
The business has grew, and maybe or maybe not, we did update the contract to reflect what's going on. By the way, it's a very good idea to keep and check your contract, because what happens is you need to get it updated. I was speaking to one of the equity partners of one of the international law firms recently, and he was explaining to me how's the equity structure going on and how they develop. And I was impressed with the amount of work these guys do on a regular basis to keep in check what's happening. And there's a committee that does these kind of meetings and understand what's going on and reflect the new agreement, let's say, or protocol, like you said, or the code, if you may, to capture how the business is actually behaving, right? So I would highly advise that you do that on a regular basis. When I say regular, I mean regular as the business needs, right? But ultimately, the emotions of the separation is going to be there. And you're right, with the family members, the risk is there. And I think when you go into partnership, you need to always be aware, and your partner needs to be aware that the exit is always an option. Yes, we're here to celebrate something amazing, and we want to think of, let's go and rock the world and do amazing things and make a great impact. But we're also mature enough to understand it may also end. And in my opinion, this is part of life, and it can take you back to how mature you are and so on. And if you have an agreement that resolve this kind of potential conflict, it's going to be a great tool to rely on in case of an exit. Yes.
Yeah. A few of my clients came to me and said that at the beginning of the relationship, they were shy to ask the other party, who is a very close friend or a very dear business partner for many years, to write down every single term. And they felt like if I propose an agreement or I propose writing a contract, I will give a sign of that I don't trust the other party, and this is, of course, might be the start of breaking the trust or breaking the relationship. So many of them say, "Okay, I shake hands. That's the agreement. Let's go ahead and try one or two deals," and of course, afterwards, something bad happens. What can you advise the partners who are shy to put terms in writing?
I have a very personal approach to this.
Okay.
I sit down with my clients and I really understand what's going on. Because a person who is running a business thinking like that, there's something else is pushing him to think like that. He knows it. I need to have an agreement. He doesn't actually need you to have it. He knows it. But there's something on an emotional level is driving him, either fear of losing this deal, or he's insecure. He thinks that the other side might think that I don't trust them. So in my opinion, I think my approach, other lawyers will have different approaches, I'm sure, is that I spend time with my client and I hold the space for my clients to tell me what's going on. And that often initiates a discussion. And then I hear things and I can see the person in front of me. And by then I'm able to actually give him solutions that can comfort him and put him in a space that he's able to think without this fogginess and these thoughts that actually comes from emotions, if I be honest with you. So the way I would do it is that to give this client the safe space to understand what's making them think like that. And then from there, I tend to solve the problem. Because once you solve the root, or at least try to understand the root of the cause of this behavior, the client will most likely come along with you and say, yeah, let's do it this way. Okay, how do you propose that we tackle it, right? And yeah, it's a difficult discussion.
Yes.
Sometimes to have. And if I'm honest enough with my clients, I would be understanding why do you think this way, and most likely they would have a red flag inside of them. If I'm being completely honest, I think sometimes lawyers can be good psychiatrists, by the way. If you understand why do you think this way, if you dig deep, he might be having some red flags and fears toward going into partnership with this person.
Yeah, I mean, that experiences.
Shouldn't be an issue, right? Logically, it should be okay to have an agreement.
Absolutely. And I think it's also a good way to address this issue is that writing an agreement is not about the other party being not trustworthy or whatever. You're also obliging yourself. So no one should be shy to propose having an agreement, because it creates obligations and liabilities and tasks or clarity for both parties, not just for one. So people should not be shying out of proposing writing agreements with their spouses, with their family members, with the parents, whatever. I mean, if a deal is a deal, and if you're into business, you have to understand to do business like behavior.
Personally, I'm going to share something with you. I've recently entered into a transaction with a friend of mine who lives in the UK, and he is the most easygoing person. I can trust him with my life, and it's a personal thing to me. And what I did is that I bought him a lawyer in the UK, and I actually drafted the agreement and I sent him with the agreement to the lawyer to understand what I written and to be comfortable. And I told him, this is my proposal. This draft represents what I think we agreed on. But please have a read, take your time on it and sleep on it and get back to me with your comments. So he did come back with some, and when I gave him that space, he came back with some of the fears he had, which was amazing to actually deal with, to see. And he was able to articulate them and vocalize about them. And we have some new terms that we had into the agreement. So if you're shy away of speaking to your future partner about putting things in writing, I would say first, ask, why do you have this shyness? Why do you have this fear? If you have a good answer, then there's always a solution to navigate around your partner thinking that you're not trusting him. I promise you, he's not. He's a businessman. He knows how things are done. He's not going to be surprised if you tell him, let's put it in writing.
I'll go into an extreme scenario. Not an extreme scenario, it's actually very common, but just building on what we are discussing. We have two business partners who are friends. They trust each other, but they are smart and business mentalities. They drafted an agreement. One of them is not like, one of them doesn't like the agreement after 10 years. People change, as he said. And he wants to change the terms, and the agreement is a bit too tight. What would you advise that person to do in order to legally, of course, we have to read the agreement to know, but I'm talking high level. What would you advise this person to do when they want to approach an amendment or a change in this agreement, and the agreement is too tight to change?
I would again understand what's the motive behind, and I would start to look at commercial. I would understand the commerciality of the relationship really, and understand why is he coming from and what actually has changed. And we'll start to engage in commercial discussion. If it does make sense, it's not a bad idea to start discussion with your partners about what you thought and how things are changing. And that's why agreements need to be reflection of what we agreed on, and it's an ongoing discussion. Because for the partnership to continue to grow, both partners need to feel heard, listened to, acknowledged, and both can go home feeling I'm benefiting from this partnership on a moral level, on a financial level. So if you have an agreement that you don't like just because you don't like, I don't think this is a good idea.
You see, this is one of the very important things. If you're a law student, if you're a fresh grad, if you're a junior lawyer, or if you're a businessman, you have to understand very well these facts. Your business lawyer cannot be the lawyer who's always on your side or taking your opinion at heart and just do whatever you like. He will stop you sometimes and tell you, why do you want to do that? Does this benefit you? Is this commercially smart? Why do you want to do this change? So whenever you see your lawyer arguing with you, you have to listen and you have to understand that it's not always about you and about your wishes and about what you want or what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes we as consultants, we as lawyers will advise you to not do what you want because you're going to be hurting yourself, and we are there to advise you. We're taking your side, but we're not going to be always agreeing with you.
100%. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Just thinking about changing the agreement because I want to. No. But the reality of things is like, if there's something to stand on, you can, the reality is you need to have this ongoing discussion because things do change, like you said. But if you want to change it because, no, sorry, it's not going to work.
How many times did you hear the word red flags?
All the time.
All the time.
One of the words that has been abused by the society.
Yes. What are the business red flags that you would see in any partnership?
Yeah. Again, very subjective. Every one of us would have his own red flags. In my book, the red flags are the things that you know you won't be able to navigate your way through, right? Going into partnership requires knowing that you're going to partner with someone who is different than you. He has a different lens. He sees the world through. He came a long way, not your way, have different belief system, different background, different parents, and so on. So differences within those parameters you must have the skills to be able to deal with them. So whatever we can agree or disagree upon on these things are not red flags for me. The red flags for me on a business level is someone that you cannot trust, someone who's not trustworthy, someone whose reputation is not that clean in the market. Someone who's very insecure for me is a red flag. If I can't trust you, I cannot be in business with you, right? I've seen this many times. The one that I've seen a lot, actually, and for me, it now became a massive red flag. It wasn't in the past, is the insecurities you see in people. And I always try to be okay with that. People who have insecurities, because I have my own insecurities as well. You do, I assume. Every one of us has. And I always thought, that's fine. It's insecurity. We work it out. But there are some insecurities that it's not your problem to solve. And you can't navigate the relationship with these type of insecurities. People who always need like to be in control or want to have affirmation about themselves all the time, or just insecure because they look at you with your set of skills, which is different than their set of skills. And for some reason or another, your skills are more attractive to the market. And that, for a reason, causes them to be insecure about you. For me, this is a red flag. It could be business, could be not, but this is a red flag on a characteristic level, because people who are insecure in business, you cannot do a business with. They always put stops to ideas you want to have. They will think about their insecurity all the time, not the business itself, and sometimes it could be it could be difficult to identify because they will never tell you they are insecure, even if you try to address the issue in hand as a partner and talk about it. Sometimes the words can get out because of the insecurity in the air, and therefore it could never get resolved. So I would say trust, insecurities are my main issues. If I can trust you, and then I think you and I aligning on a vision and on a vision level, and then next to the other business thing that we will talk about in a partnership, I think apart from that, you can make your way through. But if I don't trust you, I don't think it goes against the concept of partnership.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
What about you? Actually, very keen to hear about your views on red flags.
I think in one of the biggest red flags for me is fairness. Where if I see someone accepting an interest where that is beyond being fair, that's a huge red flag for me. So I'll take them out for dinner and see how they treat the people who are less privileged for whatever reason, a valet guy or a waiter or someone who's in the service industry. That's a huge red flag for me. If they take so much time ordering while someone is standing next to them and giving them a hard time, that's for me a huge red flag. So to be fair is very important, because if they're fair even with the smallest thing, they will be fair with the big ones. And if they are fair with the random person, they will be fair with a close person. But if they are not, I can expect that this unfairness to touch me later on. And the second thing with how they treat the service industry in general, because this reflects a lot the insecurity that you spoke about. And if they want to show off strength or power or control, for me, that's something that I don't like. And I think it's, even if it works for a lot of people, it doesn't work in partnership with me, for example. So that's one of the things that I can't deal with. So, yeah.
You see, it's very personal. The more we talk about it,
Yeah.
it's very subjective, very personal in terms of how you feel toward the other person. Yeah, interesting. No one can disagree with you. And I think if we invite more people, we'll have different views on.
100%. And I think mostly we will agree on all these points because we will relate to different situations.
Yes.
But let's go to the positive note. What are the characteristics of the good partner?
So let's say you have aligned on the vision, you have aligned on the values, you think you guys can work together. So you sort out this side, which I think is the foundation of the partnership. We've got this sorted. Okay, it's not enough. If you really like each other that much, become best friends, have a bromance.
Yeah.
Go propose to her if you're in love with her. Yeah, he's your brother. He's also going to be your brother. So this part that I've spent a lot of time talking about is for me fundamental foundation to the whole thing, but it's not enough. Is not enough. You still have to do the work behind it. It has to make sense from a scientific point of view. And this is all science. It's written. There's many books about it. But in my experience, I think you need to have different set of skills that you guys supplement each other. Partnership who strives often comprises of people who supplement each other and can have set of skills that supplement each other's partnership, again, from the word. I can do something I'm good at. You can do something you're very good at. I don't have this skill. You don't have this skill. I can go and learn it. You can go and learn it. But you know what? I'm going to trust you because you're fair and trustworthy to do this part. I'll do this part. And these two efforts will go down in one pot, which is the partnership. So for me, this is a fundamental thing to work, for the partnership to work, because because of this, you'll always be able to see eye to eye. And you always compete but not compete. You need to have this in partnership. You need to have someone who this guy got this deal, what can I do? But he's not really competing with you because he does this in his field.
Yeah.
And you do this in your field. So you're competing but not competing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. A kind of a healthy competition, because a lot of people call it this way.
Yeah. Even within yourself, you have these thoughts like right and left, up and down, and then you keep until you find the sweet spot, right, and you balance it, right?
Right.
It's like when you go on have you done kite surfing before?
No.
Like there's so many things you want to think about. Okay, I want to get the wind right, I want to get the board right. And it sounds very challenging when you do it, but once you get it up, okay, you align and you're able to, okay, now I know. So it's this process is very interesting. And you can do it with your partner as well. So you need to have two different set of skills or a number of different skills that supplement each other. I think you also have to have a very defined roles in terms of who's doing what. I think this is very important. I think you need to have emotional resilience, I would say, to be able to allow a space that you and your partner can discuss things in a closed rooms, that we can be vulnerable with each other. This is an important characteristic, to be genuinely vulnerable, to listen to your partner. Because as long as you have your eyes on the partnership and your partner, there's always going to be something to develop and build, in my opinion. Two things I think also are important, and is that managing through conflict. This is inevitable. You can't go into a partnership thinking, oh, it's going to be a walk in the park. No, it's going to be some days walk in the park. It's sunny, beautiful, it's amazing. We're holding hands, we're singing, we're dancing. Other days we may have different opinions, different feelings, different whatever that might result in conflict. You need to know that your partner has the characteristic to be able to navigate through this conflict. And last thing I would say, go and have fun and celebrate your milestone with your partner. This builds in a connection, and take the time and the space and celebrate it. Don't keep running all the time. Reflect and say, well, we've done this. That was celebrating. Take your partner out and just go and enjoy the celebration you have done. I think these, for me, are important.
I want to ask you a technical question about signing the agreements. Would it make a difference if it's signed electronically, or would you prefer, or the courts prefer, more ink signed agreements?
No, the Dubai court now and the UAE courts in general have adopted actual signature and e-signature, so that shouldn't constitute a problem whatsoever.
Some entities ask me to sign every paper on every agreement, and they even want to have the front and the back, and they want to have the stamp on every page. This is painful.
That normally comes with a request of a blank check you have to sign as well.
Yes. So really, why are the banks and the financial institutions still are asking for these Stone Age practices?
These are traditional industries, and they are led by massive organizations. The hierarchy in it is unbelievable. So doing a change would brings a lot of responsibilities if things go wrong. And the bigger the organization is, the difficult you can make a change. Imagine the Titanic, for a massive ship. They saw the iceberg in front of them. They couldn't avoid it because by the time you need to make a movement in such a massive ship, it just takes time. So my assessment would be because of that. But if you're using a jet ski, you can easily actually maneuver.
You have the freedom.
But believe it or not, even when you're on jet ski and you're running on a high speed, if you turn suddenly, what happens to you? You're off it, right?
Yes.
So making in my opinion, I would say making a change is not easy, particularly for a big organization. They are skeptical about it. People who give approval, they know they're gonna lose some sleep over it if things go wrong. They are under board investigation, so they'd rather play it the safe way.
The thing is that these practices, as long as they are staying, some business people tend to copy because they feel like if the bank is doing that, then this is the only way that is correct. So I'm going to ask everybody to send all my suppliers, all my customers to stamp and sign every single page of the agreement.
Yeah.
And not to take a DocuSign or...
Yeah. But things are changing. I hear you, and I always see that. But I think things are changing with seeing the younger generation taking over, and these guys bring their own thinking to it. They really ask you smart questions and why we're doing this. And most often we don't have answers to these questions. I think by the next, I would say, few years, you'll see these practices less and less disappearing, simply because the people are in power is going to change. And this change will bring in new mentalities, and slowly you'll see a change. And but are you sure business people are actually asking for it?
It really depends. Yes, I've seen some I don't know, suppliers to my firm, for example, when they sign a contract with us, they say we don't want to take a DocuSign. We want an ink signed agreement, and we want it front and back, and we want it stamped on every page, and we just do it because they're happy.
And you're speaking with with mid-level management or the top management?
I'm not even the one speaking, so someone will be.
Yeah. if you want to change it, speak to the CEO of it or the manager. Yeah. I think if you break it down to him or her, he or she will be like, I don't know why we're doing this.
Makes sense.
Sometimes we don't want to do the change. Things are working. Let them. I don't want to change it.
Yeah, exactly. At the end, do you want to give us an advice, or do you want to change one law in the UAE, or do you want to suggest a new law, come up with something innovative to suggest in this market, especially about this topic of partnership?
Okay, I'm glad you didn't ask me genuinely, because I had some secrets. The market going to see very soon. Watch the space. I have some interesting ideas.
Okay.
We're working on in our firm. I'm working with brilliant, smart young ladies and gentlemen, and we have some interesting ideas that we're working on. So I'll keep that aside. I'm glad you didn't ask me more than that.
Very good.
On this topic, not really. I think we have enough laws when it comes to partnerships. To be honest, the corporate law changed a number of times in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
several changes. We've seen a lot of openness for foreign capital. We've seen a lot of freedom coming to the nomination arrangement. We used to see historically foreign equity now can come in and invest directly on onshore land, mainland, and specific type of businesses. So I think from a legislation point of view, we're doing very well. There's a lot of development on the crypto side of things. We've seen a lot of transactions now, dividends being paid in crypto, bonuses on employment level getting paid in crypto, salaries
being paid in
crypto. We've seen a recently judgment from the Dubai court acknowledging crypto payments. So I think in terms of the regulation, I think the UAE has done an outstanding job in the last 6 years, I would say, 5 years at least. I think you and I can have 10 episodes to only set out the new legislations that the Dubai government and the UAE government have introduced and enacted just to develop the market. So I think we're doing well. From a UAE point of view, we're good. We don't need more laws.
Very good. Thank you very much for not suggesting any new laws because we are still getting used to the new ones that we have.
Yes.
And thank you very much for coming to Monday Legal.
Thanks. Pleasure, Ahmed.
Thanks
It's
a
always
lot.
a pleasure.
Well, this is your dose from Monday Legal. See you next week.